a lot of people to pick up because it is an Office product, it is a Microsoft product. So people are kind of used to the same interface. But other than that, they do roughly the same thing.
I apologize if you see me eating. I'm on my lunch break.
I understand that one. Do you think we have everybody?
I think we're good to go ahead and start. Sure. And I guess I can introduce you. I know you sent a great intro, or I'll just hand it over to you if you want to.
Well, I'm Dr. Larson. I'm the current department chair for the Decision Systems and Sciences department. So really, we have quantitative methods beneath us, information systems, and data analytics. So I'll talk a little bit about the degrees that we have, but in general, I want to talk kind of in general terms about education, right? I know you guys talked to UAM already, and it sounds like you're going through some stuff with SQL. You know, we do partnerships and do papers with people from UAM. So I know those guys. I like those guys. They got a good program. But I want to kind of keep it generic as I can. To tell you about me, I'm from Northwest Iowa. If you guys have followed anything in the news right now, they've got a big mess up there with all the flooding. Well, that's an issue. I started out kind of in agriculture, taking mainly economics courses. And this would have been decades ago. So I started out in sales, and really I was using analytics right away in sales because I was dealing with farmers, and farmers up there really are multi-million-dollar organizations. So I was dealing with teaching them how to use financial instruments, how to hedge things like that. So I was using Excel and a lot of analytics way back when. I went back and got my MBA, and I was a regional controller for a large cooperative up there that had a few $1 billion worth of sales. Eventually, because of what I was doing with things like SQL, even back at that time, I got into more of the business intelligence side. So I was in charge of almost all the business intelligence. I did most of their budgeting, set up their programs to do it. And I actually sat in front of all the managers and I led all the questioning on how they justified everything. So I've got a lot of exposure of how organizations use data in a lot of different ways. Eventually, I went back and got my PhD at Auburn here. I'm currently living in Auburn, even though I drive down to Troy and work there. I've been with Troy for about 8 years. I teach an intro to data analytics class, systems analysis and design, and database primarily. I have taught some of the data mining courses in the past as well. So that's kind of my background. All right. So, all right. How many of you guys have used AI, like ChatGPT? Everybody, I assume? What are you guys' feelings towards it right now? Is it scary?
I mean, I think it's come a long way already, but I think it also has a long way to go. So I feel like if we go too far, like start using, obviously the scariness of AI can be, a little overwhelming. Because obviously we have the language models like ChatGPT, but if we start getting other models, like starting to put them in actual like androids or something, like putting them in robots and stuff, it gets kind of absurd, I think.
Yeah, well, even stuff like what you're doing in Tableau. Right now you're interacting with that and you're pointing and clicking, right? How far in the future is it going to be where you can verbally tell it what to do? Do you think that's far away?
No, probably in the next 5, 10 years, 5 years, probably.
So, I think everybody has a little bit of apprehension as far as AI. For example, all of you guys are using SQL. And I have the students in my database class go in and we use a little bit of ChatGPT. So if you tell ChatGPT, these are my tables and this is what I want for an output, it will write the SQL for you. And most of the time it will be spot on for what it wants. So I think a lot of those tech skills that people have may diminish somewhat because AI can assist you. I will say way back when, 10, 15 years ago, even when I was doing SQL, 90% of what I was doing was really generated by a GUI interface. You guys know what a GUI interface is? So that's your ability to like click and drag things in, and then from there it would generate the code for you, right? Graphical user interfaces allow you to like visually kind of set things, right? So I can do my joins by just dragging a line between two things, okay? Those kind of things. So I think there's a lot of fear in that, okay? I try as best I can to have people see that, yes, it's going to affect you, but it's not going to destroy all jobs, right? My good example, spell check. How many of you guys use spell check? Everybody, right? So in spell check, if you absolutely don't know how to start a word, does spell check help you? Not really, because if you're using the wrong letters, it's going to give you some other word that is not even related, right? So you have to have enough of that background knowledge in order to understand and be able to use that technology. It's the same way, and that's what I tell the people in the database class. You have to have some base knowledge to start in using spell check. How many of you guys have sent a text that auto-corrected to something that is absolutely ridiculous? All right. ChatGPT will do that also, right? So knowing the underlying values or the underlying concepts of what the AI is doing is still going to be critically important, right? So going back to what I just said, I asked Fernando if eventually voice would take over. Right now, do you guys ever use voice to text features? Right? Do you use text to voice features sometimes? Probably not as often unless you're driving and you just want it to read off the messages, right? Something like that. Do you use that all the time? No. Again, there's times you're going to be allowed to do that and times you can't. So sometimes that technology can help you, sometimes it's useful, sometimes you can't. Some organizations absolutely shut off AI because of security issues, things like that. So prepare yourself for almost anything, because you may see a lot of different experiences, and what you relied on isn't going to help you. So that's why a lot of times I will allow them to use ChatGPT or something like that to support them. But if they aren't working on kind of building that base knowledge, you guys eventually within your career are going to pay for that. Does that make sense? All right. Good. Really quick, I won't take a lot of time on this, but how many of you guys have seen like models to help make decisions? Most everybody. Have you guys done anything like SWOT analysis in any business class in high school? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, things like that. Well, you are going to experience a lot of different models, right? Things that are, kind of help you to break down a problem. So in this case, identifying an issue, analyze the issue, develop the alternatives, all very much sounds like common sense, right? And you'll have a lot of these things where it's kind of set up and there's steps that you follow. And why do you think is it's important for you guys to learn some of these concepts. Does anybody have any idea? Anybody want to take a guess?
You guys are so quiet today.
To make the best decision possible.
Well, it's going to help you make the best decision possible. Part of it is, and I always tell my students, don't go out and be creative to reinvent the wheel. You take the wheel and you be creative with that. Does that make sense? A lot of these models are very proven to help you look at something in like a complete picture. Okay, so it's important to kind of learn these steps to kind of go through and make sure that you understand the problem. And to a certain extent, it could help you realize kind of where you fit in. Okay, so as you look at this, questions, opportunities, issues, is AI going to do that? No, I mean, there's going to be a place for people in there because people have to ask the questions. What you're doing, Fernando, right? Are you helping like lay out and tell them what data is important? Right? There's going to be some roll into that. Information. Yes, ChatGPT and all of these systems are going to get better at kind of displaying and giving visualizations. But you're always going to have some personal aspect of that to help explain things to different people, right? And that could be in the form of, creating the report, creating a unique visualization, or giving a presentation of what the findings are. Okay. From there, we have some knowledge to look at that information and decide, well, we have to do something. And this is what you guys are starting to get right now, a little bit of experience, right? From that experience and knowledge together, we can start to make a decision and we can have wisdom on what to do that will properly help our organization. Does that make sense? So ChatGPT and AI is going to help you somewhat on this side. May even have some base experience to say, hey, in the past, this has been done, right? But you're going to have some personal experience in how people interact with it, right? There's always going to be a person aspect to it. And understanding what it's doing is always going to be very important, okay? So this kind of slide on information systems, right? A lot of times people say information systems is kind of the bridge between, what people are doing on the tech side and what's going on in the business function. And I really think kind of data analytics is almost still in that kind of bridge category. Over to the right here, we have things like hardware, database, cybersecurity, AI. An information system degree or a data analytics degree, a lot of times, depending on the place that you're going to go to, maybe a little bit more heavy on the business functions, or it may be a little heavier on kind of this technology side. To me, there's got to be a little bit of a mixture of both so you can be that bridge, right? Computer science and information systems, they sound very similar, right? Computer science in general are going to be a little bit heavier on the technology. I've spent some time visiting with our computer science department chair and talked about the database class that I was teaching and then they teach over there. I only go down to a third normal form for as far as breaking down my relational database. They go much, much farther. And he said, well, that helps them learn critical thinking. I pull back and I said, well, my people aren't going to deal with the critical thinking of those minute details. I want them to apply something that has been broken down. So typically information systems are going to be a little bit more tuned into like data or business or organizational needs. Does that make sense? Right? The Python that we learn in our class, we gear that a little bit more towards analyzing data, not necessarily as like a software developer. So you'll have like categories in there like people who are more towards the solution side, which is, you know, your hard coding and your final design, and people that are more looking at the problem domain, and we're more the problem domain. Okay. One thing I want to point out on here is accounting. Any of you looking on going towards accounting?
We've had a few who have mentioned maybe finance, so
Okay.
not quite accounting, but in that.
So finance and accounting, a lot of times they may require like the CPA exam. You said something about, well, where can a data job take you? And I will tell you right now, I think the majority of jobs will be data jobs. It's just what level that you look at. The accounting and the CPA exam is now putting data analytics directly into their exams. So they're increasing the amount of time they're looking at analysis, not just the rules. Okay. So regardless of what field that you're going into, and I'll make a challenge to you guys later, right? Think about, you know, what level of data analysis you need to learn and what level of technology that you need to learn, because you're going to have some of that regardless of what career you go into coming out of college. Does that make sense? All right. Data analytics. So data analytics has a lot of things going on. You know, some things can be very, very specific, right? Fernando mentioned mapping things. We have our data analytics students actually go over to the GIS department and they learn ArcView, which is specifically just for mapping things, right? There's a lot of different topics and things that you can go through in data analytics. I mean, it's almost infinite. We try to break how we apply these things into 4 different categories. And they're from kind of the most basic things to more advanced concepts, but you may use the same skills in each one. So descriptive, you're trying to figure out, well, what is going on? Diagnostic, why is this going on? Predictive, what's going to happen? Prescriptive, what should we do? So I might use a regression model and go look at what's happened in the past and see what kind of was it affecting things on a descriptive area to say, hey, this is something that's affecting, for example, labor. You know, if we're looking at labor costs, maybe just the cities that we're located is affecting it. Describe what is going on. Diagnostic, why is it happening? Well, then you may go through and look at the different factors about a particular city, and you could run a regression again of why it is happening. Predictive, with a linear regression, I could run anything and I could have it tell me what my given different factors tell me what I should expect for a result. Right? Prescriptive, if I had a certain level, it tells me to stop doing something, I'll stop doing it. Okay. We may apply those same techniques. It's just the level that you're doing it at and what kind of decisions that you're making. Okay. So as far as our degrees, so we have a couple of different degrees. And again, I'm not going to get too much into at least by the time you guys start, we'll have these concentrations within the data analytics degree. We are going in the 2025 catalog, which will start next year, to have an operations management concentration, a security, information assurance and security concentration, and then just a general analytics concentration. Again, what this is doing is it's saying, okay, we want to respond and look at a specific problem. So for an operations management concentrations, what do you guys think about when you hear operations management? What kind of industry?
Management, maybe?
What was that?
Like a management part of a business?
Yeah,
like
I mean,
productions,
what was that?
like producing goods. So like you
Yeah.
kind of manage the operations that go on to produce goods.
So a lot of times people think, well, that's factory work and those kind of things, right? A lot of the people that have went on from us and our operations research analysts are actually in the insurance industry. So you guys already had Alpha talk to you?
Yes, they spoke to
Right.
us last week.
Yeah, there's quite a few of their people in various different departments that come from Troy. Operations management, yes, it's about effective operations or the effectiveness of providing a service or a good. But that service and good isn't always something that's manufactured. You know, sometimes it's things like insurance. That's still a good, okay, that people are selling. All right. So this is more geared towards those kind of things that we heard from our advisory board to say, well, these are the kind of skills that those people need. Okay. Information security and assurance. All right. Why do you think, you know, this kind of falls under data analytics, and why might it be important from what I've talked about so far? Did Alpha talk about like the quality assurance aspect and when they give their talk?
I don't think Alpha really touched on that during their conversation, but it looked like some of you guys unmuted there for a second. Just shout it out. It's okay. There's no wrong answers here.
I mean, when you're analyzing data, you also want to, make sure it's not getting into the wrong hands,
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah. So security is going to be a big thing. I will tell you guys, I mean, if you can get things like security clearance, it opens up a lot of doors, especially in Alabama with a lot of the military areas, things up around Huntsville and that. A lot of those companies prioritizing having some kind of a security clearance. So if you want to go down the route of staying into data analytics and you have some interest in information security, I'm pretty sure this is going to be a good state for you guys to find jobs in. Okay. The other part is, and why we kept the assurance, right? All that talk up above, right? Of, the technical skills are going to diminish. And I do think the amount that you're going to have will. But I think the importance of testing what is coming out of the system is going to become more and more important, being able to, determine when there's a problem and when there isn't. Because if you're allowing your staff to use things like generative AI, making sure that everybody has done their job properly. Okay, does that make sense? So one of the things our advisory boards has said is that quality assurance within the software side is one of their biggest demands right now. Okay, and that's just being able to test things properly. Right. We don't have an information systems degree standalone by itself. The information security and assurance one is kind of going to be towards that. we have a couple of what we call concentrations that you would take more of the general business, and then you take a few classes that are related again towards the technology side. So again, this isn't going to give you as much strength as far as the tech side, but it's going to allow you to get a little bit more exposure to general business concepts like human resource management, things like that. So you know more about the problem domain. Okay. Because there's more than just knowing a technical skill in order to solve a problem. Okay. So we have an information systems concentration. We have a data analytics concentration. Again, you're not taking as many classes on the tech side, but you're taking some to give you kind of a background, right? Jobs available. I mean, there are tons of things out there that are going to require both skills with data and skills with information systems, right? There is a lot of money to be made in doing that. The issue a little bit kind of with the data analytics, or even when you talk about like the decision science, some of those concepts are so new that some of the organizations don't see that clear career path, right? Some of what you're learning makes it very general. So you can shoot for a lot of different jobs. So we have people going into training programs. We have people going into defense and military side. We have a lot that are going into insurance right now. We had quite a few that are really going into state jobs, right, for the state. But there's a lot of different aspects that you can go into with that degree. We do some fun kind of, field trips, things like that. This one is when we went up to Birmingham to a networking event. So we do a Sabre marketing conference down in Mobile. We do regularly go up and do some networking in Birmingham. Last year, we had several students participate in the Magic City Data Collective, which is kind of a partnership with UAB. UAB runs that program up there. I think we had about a third of the students that were in that program were Troy students, something like that. We have went and toured places like Alpha before. We have a data analytics club that is mainly student driven. We want you guys to do competitions and things like that, but they don't always go about that. Sometimes it's more social during the year. It all depends on what the students want. We do a lot of partnerships with the computer science side. So we do that as well. I did want to take a little bit of time again to kind of show you some of the other degrees. I mentioned accounting. Accounting is going to have data analytics, economics, risk management, insurance. The GIS department has its own degree. Again, that's going to deal with data. It's going to deal with data that's primarily looking at how that data is influencing specifically towards like mapping out geographical areas, or sometimes they may even do it for like mapping out with human body and things like that. There's computer science and applied computer science, cybersecurity, mathematics. So regularly we had several people go over and intern at Alpha, for example, and they're competing against mathematics, computer science, economics. We're all kind of in that same pool because a lot of the organizations realize they need different aspects of how to analyze data. Mathematics, you're going to deal a lot more with just kind of the background and the math. Okay. Computer science, you might deal a little bit more with the math and a whole lot more with programming, right? Economics, right? They're going to be more math and graphing things out. We're kind of a mixture of all of those. Okay. Although math, for the most part, we're going to be interpreting computer outputs rather than doing hard calculations, but their actuaries, things like that, they may need a mathematics degree in order to go through and understand those concepts. We have a program called interdisciplinary studies where you do 3 different minors, so you can kind of pick and choose the areas that you want to look in. And there's other areas, like there's a technology management degree. We have several students go on to do graduate work, especially as you're looking to be like a data scientist or more advanced inside of research. A lot of people will advance on and go into graduate programs. So we've placed people within Troy. We've have people that go outside of Troy. Just like UAM, we're a AA CSB school, so we're accredited. So we're going to be recognized by any other university that you're kind of looking at as far as having rigor as far as education. So we're going to be as good as anyone as far as having that listed kind of on your application if you want to go to graduate school. We have an MBA that does have a business intelligence concentration. We have a master's of science and management that has project management within its concentration. Economics has a degree, accounting has a degree, there's applied mathematics over in the mathematics side. There's a whole lot of different stuff with computer science that includes a data science area. Their look at data science is going to be a lot more, doing things with big data with Hadoop and things like that are more of kind of managing really, really huge data sets without any GUI interface. Our side is going to be more of like a practical power user type experience doing things like Tableau, which Fernando is working on, right? So there's going to be some differences in the kind of program, but all of these are going to be data related. So whatever you guys are working on right now, you're advancing yourselves, right? Whatever path you're going towards. Does that make sense? So I talked, I got, my kids are going to be a sophomore here in Auburn School, and then I've got a 6th grader. Talked a lot to my brother, and his kids were just graduating, and he was going around to all his like different colleges with them, and looking and watching, and he's actually a DBA. Okay, so he's a database administrator. And he was watching and listening to him, and he said, well, the issue I have is with a lot of the degrees and the programs that they talk about, they don't have a lot of practical experience. They aren't teaching people like practical skills. One thing I will tell you is, I think it's the same with the other schools that you talked with. We do a lot of case-based things to try to have you practically apply what you're learning in class. A lot of times I may give you just the resource to learn how to do something. And then what we spend in the class time is you guys applying that. You guys have to come out of your education being able to not just like get a recipe to follow and do this, 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 and this. You may have a general template or a general model, as these are the kind of things that you have to do, but you have to apply it to new and different things. Okay, so we want to give you those general models that you can apply to different aspects. Okay, I don't think most of the jobs or most of the things 10 years from now are going to be the same stuff you're learning today. Okay, I do envision 10 years from now, you may not do a lot of SQL. You're just going to tell it what's there and it's going to spit it out. Okay. You may not point and click and change things within Tableau. You may tell it what to change it to. But understanding how like those color patterns and things allow people to see and understand is going to help you. Does that make sense? So the other thing that, I mean, I hope everybody's telling you is that you're going to have to learn how to learn. So all the way through your careers, you're going to be learning new things. Okay. Some organizations are really good at supplying you with that. Some aren't. Other thing I will tell you is what is out there right now for free sites that you guys can learn a lot of stuff from. It's ridiculous. I mean, you can learn a lot of technical skills for nothing. Okay. They don't necessarily help you how to know how to apply it, but you can learn them. All right. The challenge I have for you guys, and all of you said you use AI somewhat. Whatever career path, whatever industry that you're interested in, ask the AI that you're working with what's going to be important for the skills you want to learn. Now, there may be some, like if you're going in to be a plumber, it may not have technology and analytics up at the top. But most of the people that are going through, especially in the business school, which is where Word Group is, it's going to tell them analytics and technology within the top 5. And usually within the top 2, right? Back to back. So you guys are going down the right path, right? Taking some time to learn some data skills, regardless of if you want to stay in more of a tech heavy area, it will be valuable to you. Okay. That's kind of all I was kind of planning on going through. If you guys have any questions, I will say Troy is a beautiful campus. If you have not been there, it is well worth going down and seeing. So,
what is the difference between like computer science and applied computer science? I saw that in one of the programs.
So I think again, it's a lot more about the computer science is going to teach you more theoretical things. So it's going to go through a lot of more foundational, so like operating systems, things like that. Where the applied, you may go towards a certain area and you don't have to go through those steps. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
So again, it's just it's more theoretical. Where applied, you're going to be trained more directly towards a job.
Okay.
Or a certain career path. It is my interpretation from listening to them that they will give you a better feel of what they do than I can. That's my understanding.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Anything else? Like I said, I tried to keep it as general as I can because I know you guys don't want to just hear about somebody's program, but hopefully kind of think through what you're doing for your career paths, okay?
No, this was a great talk, Dr. Larson. I think you touched on just a lot of things that we're covering through this summer program. And it's actually really neat to hear because, like I said, our interns are kind of working on very different projects across a lot of different industries and different types of employers in Alabama. And I think you really kind of touched on all of them. And it's just so neat to hear, you know, how data and technology will just be central to your career, no matter what direction you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, coming from agriculture side, you know, people think, you know, big data is not related to that. And I always tell them agriculture probably has the best use of big data. Almost every square inch of Iowa is mapped and they know how much fertilizer got applied at what rate. The machines that are going across it will vary its rate depending on what has happened in the past, what type of soil is there. They'll have different layers of what soil is there, their estimated rainfall, its elevation. I mean, just so much data that goes into that it would shock you guys going through and seeing that. So you guys think you see just a basic, industry, but there's a lot going on underneath it.
Yeah, would a couple of you guys like to share just real quickly, maybe a little more about your projects, just for Dr. Larson to get a better feel for what y'all are working on?
I'm working mainly with ChatGPT, and I created a GPT that summarized earnings calls. And I'm currently cleaning a database to run it through with a. I'm creating a database with I'm cleaning a database with a GPT to create a Power BI model.
Okay, cool.
And Corey's working with EDPA, so the Economic Development Partnership of Alabama. Anybody else? You guys are working on such interesting stuff.
How many of you guys know where you're going to go to school? Or end your majors?
I have my major chosen. I have like schools that I'm going to apply to. I'm not sure which one I'm going to go to yet.
What major are you getting into?
Computer science.
Okay. Do you know any kind of concentration you're looking at there?
Not yet. I just know computer science is the major. I haven't gone to the specifics yet. But
That's
I was
awesome.
actually at Troy not too long ago, though. I was at Boise State for the week. So
Okay. It is a beautiful campus, isn't it? Like I said, we've got a good department there. Like I said, I argue a little bit with the department chair there, saying that the problem domain is the biggest thing, and he thinks programming is going to be there forever, and I think to a certain extent it will, but I do think the focus is going to be more being able to spell out what the problem is.
Yeah, and we've got another future Auburn Tiger on the call too. I
Okay.
know Lily is planning to go to Auburn.
What area?
I want to do biosystems engineering. It's kind of on the biomedical side.
Okay. Is that over alongside of what college is that in?
I think it's in the engineering college.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Auburn's it's a nice campus. The parking there is not always friendly, and the
You can't have all
traffic is
wins. Can't have all
ridiculous.
wins.
Yeah. 'Cause I obviously got my PhD there, and you almost can't recognize the town from what it was a few years ago. I mean, there's just so many more big apartment complexes and stuff around there. So I would recommend trying to park where you can walk, or to have a where you live, where you can walk there.
Yes, sir.
I think they make freshmen park like 100 miles away. So
In the middle of nowhere, away from everything.
Well, the interesting thing is, and I've started walking with colleagues now, is, as when we were your age, we'd all complain that we had to park a long ways and then we would walk. And now when I'm my age, I'm trying to make myself walk. Now I still want to park close because of convenience, but the walking is good for you.
all right, guys. Any final questions or comments for Dr. Larson?
Like I said, you guys are doing great. So this experience as you're going through, it will really help you. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, thank you so much. And I'll be sure to share this recording. And I know you just sent me the slides as well, so I'll be sure everybody gets a copy of these
All right.
too.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Dr.
Thank
Larson.
you.
all right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.